Okay, here we are. So, I'm Dre. This is the Dre Lax Podcast. I know it's been a minute since we've done one of these. I was traveling, so I was in Boston for Memorial Day weekend, and before that, I was coaching. When lacrosse season is in full swing, I get really super busy, and yeah, man, I just don't always remember to jump on during one of these, especially when I'm like in between travel. I was going to record an episode while I was away, but the good old hotel that I was at kind of ran out of the Wi-Fi, so a little bit of dealing with that. But other than that, it's been a good week. We had a good time, great time in Boston, honestly. Real great time. So let me start off. With just saying how much I loved coaching this year. I will elaborate more on that in my episode that's specifically for my team that I coach. So they're going to get their own dedicated episode. Big time shout out to my cousin Lex for this beanie that she sent me from her trip to Montana a little while back. So first and foremost, here's what we're going to do. We're going to recap the Colorado boys high school playoffs. So what ended up happening, at least in 5A, we had first round, there was a lot of buys. Mount Vista beat Columbine 20-3. Denver South beat Northfield 8-5. Regis Jesuit, Cherry Creek, Fairview, Ralston Valley, Colorado Academy all had buys, as well as Arapahoe and Denver East. Cherokee Trail beat Erie 15-9. Legend beat Monarch 19-3. I saw that one in person. That was a real beatdown. Lakewood beat Castleview 8-6. And Chatfield beat Grandview 11-5. Poudre School District beat Heritage 13-3. I think that's just that first round. Second round, in quadrant 1, you had Cherry Creek beat Denver South 19-4. Regis Jesuit beat Mountain Vista 14-10. Poudre School District beat Ralston Valley 6-2. And the Colorado Academy beat Chatfield 16-6. On the other side of the bracket, in quadrants 3 and 4, you had Valor Christian beat Rock Canyon 16-2. Denver East beat Cherokee Trail 18-11. Legend beat Fairview 9-7, and then Arapahoe beat Lakewood 11-5. Next round was pretty tough and competitive, but jumping to the final 4 of the Colorado High School playoffs for Class 5A, you had Cherry Creek beat Colorado Academy 11-7, and they would then go on to beat Regis Jesuit 14-6. You had Valor Christian beat Arapahoe 11-8, and they would then go on to beat Denver East 15-4. And in the championship, you had Cherry Creek versus Valor Christian. Cherry Creek beat Valor Christian 11-8. That is the bracket for the boys 5A and what happened there. Jumping to 4A for boys, in the final 4, you had Air Academy versus Aspen, and Air Academy won 10-3. Dakota Ridge won 13-9 over Evergreen, and then in the championship, Dakota Ridge beat Air Academy 12-7. that was just what went on for the boys. Boys had a very, I would arguably say, a very competitive tournament this year. Like in years past, tournaments have just been sometimes they've just been blowouts, and you know, for the parents that are in attendance, I'm sure nobody wants to watch a blowout, whether your team is winning or not. And then jumping to the girls tournament for 5A. In the finals, Valor Christian beat Thunder Ridge 12-8. And hey, listen, Valor Christian has a very strong like pipeline for their sport. It really doesn't matter what sport it is. They just have a very strong pipeline there. And then for the girls, the final was Evergreen won 19-6 over Green Mountain. So that's what it was. That's what it was for Colorado high school. You know, I liked I liked this season a lot. The rules and some of the officiating were bit questionable in some regards. Not going to get too deep into that. If you are a coach in high school in Colorado, you know good and well what I mean. I do like how the season was structured. I did like that a lot. I felt like it was structured a lot better this year than in years past. And it's always cool that the finals and the semifinals for both boys and girls takes place at Denver University. So that's just something that's really cool. It's nice for them to get to play there. And yes, shout out to the people that are watching this podcast. I appreciate you guys as well. And jumping to the NLL finals, the Buffalo Bandits did the three-peat. I say that with complete disdain because, as y'all know, I'm a Mammoth fan, so I'm not going to want to see Buffalo succeed like that. Even though the Bandits do have two of my favorite players, Josh Byrne and Dane Smith, who I would say arguably are two of the best lacrosse players on the planet, not counting Lyle Thompson. Shout out to Ian McKay for winning NLL Finals MVP. Our friends at OTB, Outside the Box podcast, Kyle, one of our friends, he actually called this well before the season started. Shout out to you, Kyle. Those are our friends in the lacrosse world. So if you get a chance to check out OTB or Stick Talk or Sticks In, so Stick Talk is those are real good friends of the show. We actually have a lot of friends in the lacrosse sphere. I say we like it's not just me that does this podcast. It's funny. But yeah, hey, I want the sport to grow. I also want the sphere to go. So yeah, support my friends if you can. And jumping straight to the main event, the main portion of this podcast, the NCAA Memorial Day weekend recap. So I went to Boston for my first time ever in my life. I've never been to Boston, but when I saw what teams made it to Memorial Day weekend and I realized who was all going, I said, screw it. Let's go. Let's go have some fun. Let's just go jump out there and we'll say what's up to our friends. And so I flew out to Boston. Shout out to the Econo Lodge for actually being a good place to stay. It was right next to Mick Morgan's. It was this nice little bar. So whenever I was back from watching the games, I got to just pop over there and watch some basketball and some hockey, even though much to my disdain, OKC is probably going to the Western Conference Finals, but that's neither here or there. So for the The weekend, I can understand some people's complaints and critiques that lacrosse tournaments shouldn't take place at football stadiums because it looks on TV, it looks weird when half the stadium isn't full and stuff like that. Whether people like it or not, lacrosse is still kind of a niche sport. The sport is not on the level that football, soccer, and basketball is at, and that's okay. That is totally fine. It will grow. Growth happens over time. You can't make fetch happen. Um, so I can understand some people's complaints. However, if you look at where lacrosse used to be back in the days of the Major Lacrosse League, and you look at where it's at now, the support and the involvement has grown exponentially. So it's one of those things where I think people just kind of got to relax a little bit, slow their roll, slow their pace. Um, I really did think it was really cool to get to see the women's um, Final Four take place the same place as the men's Final Four. They were on different days. They were structured differently, spaced out enough to give different teams proper rest. The tournament opened with the women's D1 semifinal for the Final Four. So we had UNC versus Florida, which started out really competitively in the beginning. Once once Florida got to about 4, I don't know what happened. I don't know if somebody said something or what, but UNC turned on the Jets and they just pulled away, and it was not even remotely close. I think final result was like 20-4. Um, one thing I did like is that I got to see great goals, movement, pace, spacing, and play style. I don't completely know women's rules, and I'm still trying to understand it. So anyone that's watching this, if you understand women's lacrosse pretty well, I welcome I welcome you reaching out and being involved in any episode for this show, because I would like to learn the women's rules more. But it was absolutely great getting to see it in person. I i saw, for the first time ever in person, I saw Chloe Humphrey play, and I just got to say that woman is amazing. That woman is absolutely amazing. She Watching her play was, man, I'm trying to like describe it without sounding too hyperbolic, but watching her play was a lot like, man, I'll say like Devin Booker in his rookie year, because he was just top notch, like really freaking good. Like, I was just like, man, she is good. I think she dropped like 6 or some goals that night. Like, and it was just, but like watching her do it was just like second nature. Mind you, she's only a freshman. And I think that night was the night where she set the single season scoring record at UNC. And she's only a freshman. So, you know what? Watching her play was like watching Juju Watkins when Juju was a freshman. It was someone that you were just like, wow, this person is really freaking good. I can't wait to see what happens the next 4 years of her playing. Like, Chloe Humphrey, you you were a cut above the rest. And she got to play with her two sisters. So it was nice. It was really cool to see what UNC fans called the Humphrey connection live and in person. It was just cool. It was really cool. Boston College was in the second game and they played Northwestern. That game was a lot more competitive. But again, like with the first game, Northwestern slowly but surely found a way to pull away, and they ended up beating Boston College 12-8 to advance to the championship. Again, really great lacrosse play style. It was definitely interesting because going into it, you would have thought Boston College would have beaten Northwestern, and they were up for a little bit, but um, they leaned on the power of Delaney Schweitzer. I hope I'm not saying her name wrong. And Riley Campbell. Um, Delaney was probably one of the best players in the tournament, and she was the goalie for Northwestern. But seeing the saves that she made were just incredible. Like if it wasn't for the fact that Chloe Humphrey was on the eventual winning team, I think most outstanding player would have gone to her. Um, I did get this neat little hat there. It was cool. But yeah, it was just it was really nice getting to see the ladies do their thing and show out, and the growth of women's sports the last like 2 to 3 years, like the support and the presentation and the platform of it has been amazing to see. Just real amazing. And the crowd turned out in full force. So again, going back to my earlier point, I can understand people saying that they wouldn't want lacrosse played in a football stadium, but also people show up and people show out. So the next day was the men's semifinals, which very fun games as well. It was really interesting. So Cornell versus it was Cornell versus Penn State and Syracuse versus Maryland. The interesting thing was watching how much Penn State's defense was able to really stifle Cornell's powerhouse offense initially. CJ Kurse was very limited in that game. And, it would come out later that he's been playing with a broken hand since the Cornell Albany game back in almost April. So he's been playing with a broken hand for just about like a month and a half. And so shout outs to Kirst on that. We'll get to him later. Very, very tough little defensive game for Penn State and Cornell. It was a battle, just back and forth, back and forth. It was really just who was going to run out of steam at the end, and Cornell would eventually pull away and beat Penn State. So it was just interesting getting to see how Cornell basically had to kind of out hustle Penn State. And Penn State was hustling. They were not giving anybody like they were not just going to go down fight like without a fight. They were straight up swinging. They were ready to go. Like every team in that Final Four came ready to play. So no one just got steamrolled. It was never that. The Syracuse Maryland game was also very interesting for the fact that Joey Spallina didn't register anything on the stat sheet but a assist in garbage time. So he got a lot of flack and critique for that because of what he had to say in his post game interview in the quarterfinals. Not to go into a rant too much, but I'm gonna try to say this as PG as possible. A lot of y'all out there with your little Twitter fingers on Twitter need to just shut up. The dude had a bad game. It's really not that deep. He's not suddenly about to fall out of the draft class for next year or anything like in the 2026. He's not about to lose his draft stock. He's not about to suddenly be the last pick of the draft. It's not, the sky is not falling. It's not the end of the world. Some of y'all just need to shut up and watch the game. Like I'm willing to bet as great or as middling as some of y'all were in your playing days, y'all would probably end up in the same position. Because I mean, you're acting like people were acting like they were playing like they were playing Casius or like Syracuse was going up against Loyola. Like that Maryland defense was tough. There, like it wasn't like he was playing some JV All Star team. Like it was a tough team. But I say all that to say that players are going to have bad games. It's the nature of the game. It's really not that deep to where a lot of grown dudes sitting back being armchair offensive coordinator or armchair attackman got to file off their Twitter fingers and be like, "Ooh, Joey Spallina, I guess you didn't silence the haters like you thought you did." Like, what are we doing, dog? Come on. Be better. Be better. Do better. Sometimes you got to use this before you start running off this or this. Just saying, but that's my little segue there. Yeah, basically shut up. um but Cornell would win their game against Penn State, and Maryland would edge out Syracuse and would go on in advance to Memorial Day weekend's game, the championship game. The next day was the women's final, the D2 championship for men's, and the D3 championship for men's. So, the women's championship game was a really good game. UNC would end up beating Northwestern. I believe the score was 12-8. It was a really good game. It was really entertaining. Great crowd support. A lot of people, a lot of UNC fans, a lot of Northwestern fans. Everybody was into it. The energy was there. Chloe Humphrey again put on a freaking show. Also, shout out to the freshman goalie that's Betty at UNC, and shout out to Delaney at Northwestern. Those two goalies gave everything they had for that game. I have nothing but the utmost respect for the effort and the grit that all of those ladies showed on that field. It was really just who wants it more and who's going to make less mistakes and who's going to capitalize on the mistakes that are made. It was really, really just a good battle, good show, good. Yeah, it was a good showing. I liked the weekend. I was really excited to see just really good lacrosse. I think it's great for the women's sports. I think it's great for what they have to work with. Like, historically, women's sports have not been given a proper platform, and the fact that they're getting platforms now, and that they're getting a chance to show what they can do. They're getting a chance to um, be center stage is amazing. And anyone that doesn't think that, well, you're either hating or you're on some bullshit. Uh, sorry for the language if my grandma's watching this, but I say what I said. I stand by what I said. um, the D2 championship. So before I get to my game recap, uh, I had I get lacrosse merch from anywhere, like because Virginia wasn't in the tournament, I wasn't too invested in the teams that I got gear from. Me being a Virginia fan, I don't really mess with Maryland too much like that, even though like I did live a lot of my life in the DMV, so I do have some Maryland apparel. So if you see me in my Maryland Whipsnakes hoodie, leave me alone. Don't say nothing about it. But um yeah, I wasn't getting no Maryland gear like that. Uh, don't really have any ties to Northwestern or Penn State, so I really didn't, or Florida, because I'm a Georgia fan. So I really wasn't getting their gear, but I did get a Tough shirt. I got a Tampa shirt. I got a Cornell national champion shirt, and I got a Boston College shirt for free. They were giving them out in the parking lot. Yeah. So the D2 championship game was Tampa, University of Tampa versus Adelphi University, and who were the winners last year. And I was wearing a Tampa shirt because I just got it, and somebody in the stands was like, "Hey, you like are you from Tampa?" I was like, "Oh, I just like the shirt." So you're rooting for Tampa? I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Come sit with us." And so I'm sitting in the Tampa fan section, getting rowdy and hype with them. And I do want to just say, shout out to the Tampa fans. Shout out to the University of Tampa. You guys were super welcoming, super friendly. I had the best time getting hyped and getting rowdy with y'all. 10 out of 10 would do again. You guys were great. I loved that. That was great. I had a great time for sure. And so here was the interesting part. Um, Here was the interesting part of all that. It was just man, genuine fun. It was really just genuine fun. And I got to just have so much fun and relax. I wasn't It was nice getting to really immerse myself in being a fan. And uh although Tampa did not win and they lost in overtime to Adelphi, that game was probably the best game of the weekend. I genuinely think that game was the best game of the weekend. They they did what they could, and both teams put on a show. The fact that we got an overtime game out of all of that was just amazing. It was amazing from start to finish. The fans from both sides were into it. Nobody was nobody was really getting see lacrosse fans, we don't be getting violent like that. I know I know it happens in like other sports and stuff, but we really lacrosse fans, we really aren't about to pull up on you or anything because of because we lost a game. We're not about to do that. That's not how we get down. Okay. So moving on to the D3 championship game, if we can call it a game, because I don't know if somebody at Dickinson said something mean or looked at somebody the wrong way, but oh my goodness. I think at the end of first quarter, it was like 10-0 Tufts. Dickinson, for anyone that doesn't know, they were the Cinderella story of the tournament. They had beaten defending champions or like elite teams in Division 3. And so everybody thought this was going to be a Cinderella story that accumulates in a title, or that they would at least be competitive with Tufts. Yeah, Tufts said we shutting all that down. And in the end result, not only did they set the record for goals scored by a single team in the championship game of Division Three, but they beat Dickinson 25-8. And my goodness, I was mostly just, man, a 17 goal margin. Like I just, oh, oh. I mean, shout out to Dickinson for not rolling over, but buddy boy, that was tough. I was, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was at a certain point with some of the goals that Tufts was scoring. They were doing some twisters behind the backs, just genuine. They said, I'm gonna score these goals because I can. And man, some of them you just had to laugh because you're like, guys, you're up. Like, what is the point of this? Like, what are we doing? Why? Like, what did they do to you? Hey, dog. Like I said, I don't know what anybody at Dickinson said to anybody at Tufts, or if anybody was being rude or anything like that. But hey, dog, they were not having it. Tufts said, we gonna put these points on you. And mind you, I don't believe in any such thing as running up the score. I firmly believe if you don't want me to score, then stop me. So I wasn't even mad that they kept scoring. I wasn't mad at that at all. And so, yep, at the end of the second to last day, you had UNC, Adelphi, and Tufts all be crowned champions in women's D1, men's D2, and men's D3. Jumping on to the championship day, last game of the tournament. As always, Memorial Day is always special because we're honoring those who gave their lives and showing them the proper respect that they are deserved. And so playing on Memorial Day always feels like special, whether you're playing or you're watching. And um, despite having a broken hand, CJ Kirst dropped 6 goals, catapulting Cornell into winning their first national championship since 1977. So big time shout out to Coach Connor Busick, CJ Kirst, and big time shout out to one of my assistant coaches, Coach Bob Anir, who was on the 1977 Cornell team. I remember how happy he was in our group chat that it was happening. By proxy, one of our other coaches who I coach with, he wasn't exactly too happy because he's a Maryland fan. But like I said, as a Virginia fan, couldn't happen to a nicer fan base. All righty. So that's the Memorial Day weekend recap. Again, shout out to all the viewers. Always happy to have you guys here. This isn't going to be a super long episode. I'm really just recapping a lot of things. And I gotta make sure I'm timely because I do start coaching summer ball today. So we're gonna jump over to the PLL roster cuts, and some of these you're gonna get a rant because some of these are some nonsensical roster cuts. But hey, I'm gonna get to it when I get to it. So we will go with the Carolina Chaos. Chaos. That's exactly what that franchise is. I don't know what's going on over there. Don't know what's going on over there at all. Couldn't tell you. Don't know. Don't know. Don't understand. All I know is that place, they be just, I'm just convinced Carolina's just doing whatever, man. They're like, oh, well, we did this. We can do this. We're going to do this. I am still, I'm still annoyed by this. I'm gonna let you know why I'm annoyed. Give me 1 second. I'm waiting for this to load. I've been tweeting a lot. But I'm gonna start with the fact that the Carolina Chaos released Jules Heningberg. Jules Heningberg. You need attackmen. You need offensive strength. You don't have Josh Byrne playing this year because he's in the MSL. We'll get to that later. But my goodness, you release an attackman. Who knows your offense? Who you could have used? They also released Ryan Bell and Carter Paletti, but Jules Heningberg to the player pool. All right. Okay. I'll give it to you. That's fine. Do your thing. Do your thing, Chaos. Whatever. Enjoy going 2-8 or like 1-9. You might be lucky to win a game. The Outlaws released LSM Tommy Stool, defenseman Mark Witt, short stick defensive midi Ryan Dearth, JC Higginbottom, who's goalie, defenseman Jake Kapp, attackman Dylan Gerger, and attackman Cross Ferrara to the player pool. Now, I want you to understand why releasing Cross Ferrara makes me upset. I like Cross Ferrara, but I understand there's a lot of attackmen that they've added. But also, you release Cross Ferrara? Really? It's okay. He got picked up by the Chaos not too long after. But still, annoyed. Redwoods, they released short stick defensive midi Greg Langermeyer, goalie Jack Fracion, Ronan Jacoby, Jackson Morrill, and Vince Delato to the player pool. Ronan Jacoby is a dog. He crushed it in championship series, showed out during the season. You release Ronan Jacoby. Anyone that picks him up, it is a steal. It is a freaking steal if you get Ronan Jacoby. I promise. Mark my word. Remember that I say this. If you get Ronan Jacoby to your offense, to your team, it is a steal. The Archers, they released attackman Jack Turner, midfielder Matteo Corsi, attackman David Klosterman, defenseman Keith Boyer, and short stick defensive midi Colin Sharkey. And Cam Wires was placed on the holdout list, but don't worry, he's not getting snatched to that big MSL field in the sky. Shout out to Brian Knows Lax for that creative phrase. That's my dog. The Water Dogs released Chris Sabia and defenseman AJ Mercutio to the player pool, and they put CJ Kurse on the physical and able to perform list, but that's totally fine. Let his hand heal up. Let his hand heal, and he can rejoin the roster when he is good to go. No use in rushing him back in his rookie year. You want him to be able to play for a long time, so it makes total sense not rushing him back. I'm okay with that. The Atlas released short stick defensive midi Patrick Warstall, defenseman Brett Kennedy, defenseman Drew Lucas, midfielder Reed Landon, and goalie Drake Porter to the player pool. None of that really moves me. I'm okay with all that. Atlas can do what they want. Whip Snakes released attackman Ryan Cohen, midfielders CK Giancola, LSM Steven Zupicic, and SSDM Tate Gallagher to the player pool. And again, none of that really moves me. Whip Snakes are going to whip snake. Atlas are going to do what they do. Cannons released Chris Davis, attackman JP Ward, defenseman Colin Mulshini, and attackman Brian Cameron to the player pool, as well as face-off specialist Caleb Hammett. Here is where one of my rants begins. Here is where one of my rants begins because I why do we have Drip King at face-off camp? Why? We need clicks that much that we're inviting a dude that was sub 50% in Division 2 or club, wherever he played. We did not need to have him there. There was no need for it. Why was he there? Why? Took a training camp roster spot from somebody who actually had a chance with competing and making the team. He was there for clicks and nothing more. This dude's not going to be picked up. This dude is not going to be a pro in this league or any other league. No. We can let Drip King fade into obscurity. That's all we need to do. We do not need Drip King in the PLL, the NLL, the MSL, the MCLA, the PTL, the whatever L. Don't need him. Tell him to go put the fries in the bag. We don't need Drip King around no more. Please. Please, please, please. Okay. That was my big thing about Drip King's inclusion. I thought it was stupid. Absolutely stupid. All right. So, with the summary and the recaps of how some of these teams looked in their scrimmages, if I had to make just early predictions, don't ask me about records. I don't have a record prediction really. Everybody plays 10 games. Realistically, in terms of teams that I think are missing the playoffs, number one, right off rip, based off of their roster and the fact that it's going to take a while before they're competitive again, the Chaos are missing the playoffs. Again, they'll be lucky to win 2 games. I don't see it happening this year. They're going to take a little bit to rebuild. And, even though they have Chris Cav and they have Sam English, the Redwoods, I'd say, are a bubble team. I don't know if they're a playoff team yet. I got to see how they looked. Last year, they were not a playoff team. But Chris Cav and Sam English does change some things. Definitely think Archers, Atlas, Cannons, Outlaws are playoff teams. Water Dogs, Water Dogs are also a bubble team because they picked the number 1 this year. I don't know if they're going to pull an Atlas and go from having a high draft pick to then being a playoff team. I just don't know yet. It remains to be seen. So if I'm making true, honest predictions, playoff teams, Outlaws, Archers, Cannons, Atlas, and bubble teams, Whip Snakes, Water Dogs, Redwoods, missing the playoffs, Chaos. That's as clear of a prediction as you're going to get from me. Don't have actual records for you. Don't have seedings either because I know the playoff structure is changing a bit. But yeah, that's just where it's at. And this is just my opinion. If you disagree, you're entitled to, but I'm not about to argue with you. Argue with the wall. I'm totally cool for the discussion, but I'm not about to argue with you. And now we're going to move on to the final thoughts for the lacrosse world. This one, buckle in for. I do have to pull up my friend Brian Knows Lax's page, just because we were discussing it in a thread, and I don't want to misquote anything. I want to make sure that I have this right. And I gotta get my my rant song available. Cool. Alrighty. So I don't understand why the women's D2 and D3 championship couldn't have been squeezed into this weekend, but I feel that it is highly disrespectful that they did not get a chance to play at Gillette. It seems a little bit ridiculous. Kind of crazy to me. We could easily find a way to schedule this better. Referring to my friend Brian Knows Lax, in terms of a proposed schedule for what he said he would do. We have, you could do Friday, women's D1 semis and a women's D2 national championship game. Saturday, men's D1 semis and the women's D3 national championship game. Sunday, D2 men's national championship and D3 men's national championship. Monday, men and women's D1 national championship. Somebody was all talking about people needing to travel and get back on the road on home Monday. I'm going to say what I said. People's travel is their own conundrum to work out beforehand. Use that PTO. Absolutely love that proposed schedule that Brian suggested, but it is time for people to put some respect on women's sports. It is absolutely time. The time is now, like John Cena says. There is no reason why the women's D2 and D3 national championship couldn't have been played at Gillette. NCAA, you need to do better. If you're worried about turnout, don't worry about turnout. People will show up. If you build it, they will come. That is as true as it gets. If you build it, they will come. Build it. Give them a chance. We want to talk about how women's sports matter. Let's make women's sports matter. We want this sport to grow. Let's let it grow. Let's give them a stage. Let's give them a chance to shine. That's what we need to do. Yeah. Final thoughts. Really, let's support women's lax more. Put some respect on them. Put some respect on it. They're working hard. They're busting their ass. They're doing good. You got some great talent. You're gonna have some great shows and some effort and intensity on their part. Let's make it matter. Let's continue to help the sport grow. No reason why they can't play at Gillette just like everybody else. It's really all I got. I know it was a short episode. Shout out to the sponsors for the Dre Lax Podcast, Half and Half supplements. We will post their link on our Instagram when we drop the link for this episode. Use code CBD25 for a discount on your purchase when you order. Shout out to the podcast on our network, Susio Boys, Susio Sports, Aim High, Different Angle, Shogun Soccer Sit Down, Four Corners of Commentary. And yeah, we are just happy to be back, moving full swing. I'm Dre. I'm getting about the way. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We are going to start releasing these a lot more frequently. Again, happy to be back. Happy to have y'all support. Thank you so much. Have a good one.